Now, the other day, me and a lot of the other Black Clover YouTubers got together and made our own top 30 strongest Black Clover characters list. And the list basically are currently in the story. So, like, there'll be no Word Devil, no, Julius, Prime Julius, Lumiere Lich, none of that stuff. Just the characters that are currently active in the story as of right now, as according to the manga. Sorry, anime only, but the story does go a little bit farther. So we were going up to currently where we are in the story right now. And so that definitely led to a lot of pretty funny conversations. We had like what was it? It was an almost 4 hour stream. Definitely, you guys should check that out for everybody's list and a lot of the toxicness that was going on. I didn't intend for it to turn out to be a really toxic stream.
The Witch Queen. It's about a
RT,
bitch.
come on, bro.
I forget about the Witch
All
Queen.
right. Well, my next pick is Laura Pachika. So there you go.
What? She's so low.
What?
She's
Oh
so
my God.
low, bro. Come on.
Her only spell is make a big bottle of water you just swim out of.
Rex, be quiet. Quan, he be the same one talking shit about you when you say she's
I
weak.
know. Come on now. That's super low.
That's crazy.
That's the grimiest placing on here so far. That's the
It is what it is, bro.
You got her so low, bro. Goodness. But it was pure toxicity going on a lot of those moments. So definitely check that out when you guys get a chance, as well as make sure you guys sub to the other people that were involved. RTL Faith, Rax the Hero, J Cloud's Anime Talk. Sure you guys have heard of him, as well as Josuke, Black Clover versus Everybody podcast. We're trying to get that channel to 1,000, so if you guys can help out, that'd be amazing. But I wanted to go a little bit more in depth into my list, just so I could I don't want to go over every single placing because that would just be a lot. But just some of the more controversial spots that I had, I did want to touch on those. And before I do that, I do want to say something about the list in general. In addition to not only having the characters that are currently involved in the story, it kind of felt like everybody was making their own list based off of what their idea of the strongest was. As for Jay and Josuke, both of their lists were kind of like over who is the strongest one-on-one fighter, so that was reflected in their list. Whereas Rack seemed to be going off of overall of a utility sense. As for RT, I'm not quite for sure what he was going off of. I think he was going off of everything. And as for myself, I was going off of narratively and feats. So still taking into consideration the feats as well as where they should be narratively speaking. So not like a complete narrative tier list, or not tier list, but not a completely narrative ranking, but a little bit of feats, a little bit of ranking to kind of bridge that gap. But I did want to go on, like I said, on some of the more controversial picks that I had. So real quick, I'll run down my exact list. Number 30 was Fauna. Number 29 was Leo. Number 28 was Veto. Number 27 was Luck. Number 26 was Real. Number 25 was Langris. Number 24 was Damnatio. Number 23 was Gildre. Number 22 was Noel. Number 21 was Charmy. Number 20 was Asta. Number 19 was Kaiser. Number 18 was Yuno. Number 17 was Noct. Number 16 was Raya. Number 15 was Dorothy. Number 14 was the Witch Queen. Number 13 was William. Number 12 was Patry. Number 11 was Jack. Getting into the top 10, number 10 was Charlotte. Nozel was number 9. Fuegoleon was 8. Gaja was 7. Marileona was number 6. Xenon was number 5. Laura Pechka was number 4. Vanica was in third. Second was Yami. And number 1 was Dante. Now, one thing that I do want to say for sure is that on a lot of these spots, there really isn't a lot of separation. At least on my list, I can say that a lot of the bundles, it's not like there's a ton of space in between some of the two characters. Like, for example, I know one of the earlier, more controversial ones for me was having Luck right over Veto. And I don't necessarily think that Luck is miles above Veto and he just claps him immediately. But almost narratively speaking, I definitely feel like Veto and Fauna were under Raya for sure. Raya, feats wise and narratively appeared to be the stronger of the three for those two. So that's definitely putting those two at the bare minimum under Raya. And then for those two, I feel like without any more current feats, just from what we have off of them, I would me putting them any higher would just be a lot of me assuming what they can do, which again narratively they should be a little bit stronger, but at the same time I still need a little bit more feats from those two just to put them up a little bit higher. Whereas Partry and Raya, those two, even with the feats that they had back then, they still hold very true to right now, in my personal opinion. Another somewhat questionable one that I had on my list was Asta being barely in the top 20 at number number 20. And my reasoning for this is yes, Asta is currently getting his devil union. He's in the process of training with Libby to achieve that. But at the same time, I mean, we did only see a very very small glimpse of it. But that is not enough, just for me, for currently in the story, to just put him massively higher. Now, of course, once we see his union, he'll fly way higher. I'm sure he'll probably definitely be higher than once we see that, unless has some crazy hacks that lets him like not have his magic be erased or something. But like until I actually see what the results of Asta's training were, I didn't want to put him any higher. And that's kind of like another thing I didn't want to do, is I didn't want to like make a lot of like future predictions for my list personally. Like if there was somebody who wants to make a list based off of how strong characters should be in the future, by all means go for it. But for my list, I didn't really want to have too much assuming in the list, and I feel like that's reflected in it pretty well. And then another one that was somewhat questionable to a lot of people on my list was having Charlotte at number 10. Basically having Charlotte in the top 10. And you may say this could be a bit of recency bias, just because as of the making of the ranking list, that the last chapter was Charlotte's chapter, where she got to showcase basically her against Vonica and how far she's come. But in my opinion, Charlotte, with having access to her blue and red roses, is extremely powerful. Not even just against curses, but if you look at the stuff that Elf Charlotte was able to do against Yami, and just not even think about, how she was able to do a lot of stuff because she had a lot of mana, but just the actual effects of the red roses, like just the ability to be able to throw off people's senses with the smell, as well as the entire different style of fighting, as well as having now access to healing magic, because she now has access to all of the abilities that the red roses came with. So it's like she can do basically everything else Charlotte could do, in addition to everything she could already do, in addition to having runes and mana method and all of that stuff. So I feel like all of that, with what we've seen from Charlotte, just boosted her up crazy for me, in my opinion. Again, you want to have her lower, that's fine, but to me, Charlotte's top 10 for sure. The last two crazy ones were definitely probably in my top five. The one was having Vonica over Xenon. Granted, everybody would agree with when they say Xenon is stronger than Vonica, but me personally, I don't think he is, solely based off of this one statement. Havonica was stating that she wanted to fight against Yami, but Yami got captured by the Xenon, so he must not be that impressive. That makes me kind of feel like she was downplaying Xenon, like almost kind of putting herself up above him. And there was even that moment in the anime that just came out in episode 158, where she's kind of like, the way she talks about Xenon, it sounds like she puts herself above him. Now, granted, as of the making of this video right now, we know the max of Vonica to be 70%, while Xenon can go 80. So, like, obviously, if you look at numbers, 80 is higher than 70. That would make Xenon stronger. But at the same time, I kind of want to think of it as, what if the numbers aren't necessarily all like, what if it's not exactly that cut and dry? That's just what I'm thinking. Like, what if Majecula as a devil is just that much more powerful than Xenon's devil? So the like percentage, that it wouldn't matter. Like, take like actual people, for example. Like 80% of a kid's power could be equal to about, like, say 50 or so percent of an adult's power. Just throwing out numbers, like just saying that, like, maybe the percentages don't necessarily like are directly linear to each other. That's just what I'm getting at. And then my other kind of controversial one was having Laura Petchka this high, despite how much I kind of bashed Laura Petchka on Twitter and on social media. My whole thing with Laura Petchka is that, like, in theory and from her lore and just how she's portrayed, she should be really powerful. Like, she was stated to have more magic than all of the Magic Knight brigades put together. Her magic and her grimoire is a culmination of all the previous Heart Queens, as well as she has the Water Spirit. Just all of that lore and just like narrative standing right there should put her really, really high. Like, I actually really think that Laura Petchka could potentially be like possibly number one on this list. I feel like her mindset holds her back from like necessarily showcasing her power, just because when she was fighting against Vonica, she noticed she was scared. That, and she kind of seems like a goof personally. Like, she doesn't have a fighter's mentality, so she kind of holds herself back. Similar, I said this on the stream, similar to like Gohan, how Gohan in Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, he has the potential to be the strongest character in the verse, but he just isn't, just because of how he is personally, which kind of gets in the way. So that's kind of me going over some of my more controversial picks. If you want to check out the entire thing, I highly recommend that you do if you have the time. It was extremely funny and a really fun time. So I think it'd be really cool for you guys to check it out. Outside of that, I would like to see some other people's lists. We did get to see a couple lists in the chat, but anybody watching this now, I would love to see you guys' list down below. I'll also be putting everybody else's list on Twitter along with mine. So if you follow me on Twitter, just be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I have nothing else for you guys. So make sure you guys like the video as well as sub to the channel for more content. We will definitely be doing another one in the future, as well as we're also going to probably do one with all of the characters currently, or not currently, but like all of the characters in general. Probably not anytime soon, but definitely sometime in the future. So be on the lookout for that. Aside from that, I got nothing else for you guys. So make sure you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there because it's getting crazy, and I will catch you in my next video.
Well, we do need to stop
funnier
going
the
on
longer.
tangents with battles at each and every pick.
Tangents
That's
for
what
sure.
we do.
RJ, shut the you sit on that. You don't need to worry about shit. This is not so live. You sit back. Like, we gonna go on tangents.
Bro, I'm just giving a
nigga.
suggestion, my man.
No,
Relax.
It's all
hold your
subjective.
mule.
It's
Hold
all
your mule.
subjective, bro.
Hold
Relax.
your fucking mule.
Oh my gosh.